Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, USA Global TV and Radio watchers and listeners. Welcome to, of course, USA Global TV. And we are on the Talking Heads show for this segment. I am your presenter, Mariska du Preez, and we are diving into and a little bit further into basically our self-awareness, and we are focusing on our leaders in this specific segment. So how to upskill yourself as a leader and thinking about that piece and segment around self-awareness for yourself. So one of the things that I have been getting quite a lot lately with the different leaders that I work with in these spaces is this element around distractions and time management. So not being distracted, not knowing how to handle all the distractions, trying to fit everything into one day, feeling overwhelmed. Sounds a little bit familiar. Well, it is not only you or me. There is loads of us, or are loads of us going through this. And, well, hopefully in today's segment, you will learn a little bit more how you can possibly approach this to change that space for yourself and start experimenting with ideas of what might work for you and what might not. So typically, when somebody comes to me with a request on looking at time management, the first thing that we look at is how we actually utilize, what's the best way that we typically utilize our time and our day, and what's the considerations that we need to take. Now, I also mentioned this thing about distractions. So we will dive into the distractions bit sort of throughout, because one of the things that distractions does is, especially when we're trying to do focused or deep work, is it takes our brain between around 15 to 20 minutes after being distracted to get back into our deep work cycle. So preferably we don't want to be doing that while we are, for instance, compiling a report that's really important, or while we are working through a piece of work that really needs our attention. Now, in having said that, how exactly is it that our day look like? What do we need to consider to put into our day, and what can really realistically not be in there? Now, when we think about prioritizing, because that's also another element that comes into managing our time and distractions, I am sure you guys have at some point seen a little video on YouTube or somewhere else around big rocks. So what, for those of us that did not see this said video, what is big rocks? So basically, what big rocks is those are the big, most prioritized tasks or things, projects maybe, that we need to do within our space of time. So this might be within a specific day, or it might be within our week, or it might even be within our month. So when we look at how it is that we are both looking at the distractions that we want to cut out, as well as how we want to plan our time, it is good to look at the day that we have in mind, how that speaks to the week. So typically in our week, we will find that there's different patterns within our week of work, and also how that relates to the month. And looking even further, how that relates to the year. So if I were in the financial field, for instance, my year at the beginning of the physical year will look quite different to the beginning of the financial year. Now, the beginning of my organization's financial year might be somewhere in March, it might be somewhere in June, July, it might be somewhere in September, October, depending on when they have set it up for themselves. So my year might not quite look the same in each month. So taking that into consideration also while we are looking at how we are managing our time. So the different time spans will also make a difference on how it is that we are going to utilize our time. The other element that is important for us to take note of is our own energy management. So when I'm talking about energy management, it's really around when do I do specific tasks or functions better than other times. So for some people, it's really easier for them to start with very cognitive, heavy type of tasks earlier during the day, while other people find it easier to do that later during the day. So their brains wake up during the morning piece, and then they feel like they are firing on all cylinders just after lunch maybe, or even maybe later in the day. So it might be that for them, it works best at around 6 o'clock at night, not in the morning. So really understanding for ourselves how it is that our energy management in general looks. It will also change during the week. So depending on what it is that we have in our week's schedule, it will also change depending on our environment. So certain stresses or environmental impacts might influence our energy. It might also look different during the year. So I know for me personally, during summer, I have a lot more energy in general. And during winter, I almost go into a little bit of a hibernation. So I want to be cognizant of what type of tasks I do depending on the season, literally, that I am in. So that's stuff that's important to me, that I know that influences the way that I get and receive as well as expel energy, and how it makes it easier or more difficult for me. Another element in this, and we have spoken about this in some of our other self-awareness training that we did, is around understanding where we are within our introvert-extrovert scale. And yes, this is a sliding scale. We are not the one or the other. You are somewhere in between. And we might be more towards the one side than the other side. And for some of us, we are very much at either end of it. This also impacts how we then utilize our energy and the environment in which we will function best. So taking all of these pieces into consideration, and then looking at the tasks that we have that we need to schedule for. Now, another thing when it comes to distractions, something to take into consideration is typically when we have something that we want to be working on or have to be working on because it is a compliance regulatory or just something that we need to do within our workspace, there is some of them that sometimes we feel like I don't really want to be doing it at the moment, and then we distract ourselves. So there's some form of block for us around that specific task or around that specific action that we need to take within that space. Now, this might be having a difficult conversation. This might be a specific project or task that we might need to do. So it can also vary in how it shows up for us. Becoming more aware of when it shows up and how it looks like helps us to also identify what sort of strategies we need to put in place in order to help us not distract ourselves in those areas and get the support that we need in order for us to actually move forward in that specific space, so that when we are moving our rock, it moves forward. Now, yes, I didn't continue to explain the whole big rocks phenomena. So what that is about and how the prioritization lands into that piece is it really goes along with whatever the priority thing is for us. So when we think about priorities, we can think of the most important thing that we need to be doing, as well as the urgency to the specific task. So some tasks might not be as important right now, but if I'm going to leave them for a week, it is definitely going to up on their importance, which means that it is then going to be a big rock. So our big rocks are the most important and most urgent things that we need to do first. So having a list and being able to identify these specific, whether it's a project, whether it's a specific task, whether it is maybe a specific conversation that we need to have, being able to identify that and see what those big rocks are that we want to put into our container, which is the day or the week or the month first. And then next we put in our pebbles. So pebbles are things that are still important, but they may be not as urgent. And it's typically also things that we cannot delegate. So when we look at our priority list, we have stuff that we need to do ourselves. And then as a leader, of course, we have things where we can delegate it to our team. And delegation is not only for us to take things that's on our plate and put it onto somebody else's plate, because that's not the main intention of it. The intention of it is also to help our team members to grow and to level up their own skills. So by us helping to delegate specific tasks to them, it also helps their growth and upskilling. Now, take into consideration that if we have something that is important that we are going to delegate and not urgent yet, it's easy to delegate that. We also need to give ourselves and the other person enough space to be able to perform said task, whatever that might have been. If, however, the thing is really important and there's a high urgency, to then delegate it does not make sense, because you literally taking whatever the hot potato is on your plate and you're passing it on to somebody else. You are the leader. That is not fair. And in my opinion, also not an ethical move. Please do not do that. Take care of it yourself. For whatever reason you decided to leave it that long, it is your mess to clean up. Now, in saying that, we have established that there is some important things that might not be as urgent. Those are the pebbles that we then put within our container. The sand that typically goes into the container is all those other things that sort of come up during the day, phone calls, distractions via your email, those sort of things that come up. Now, the way to help us with our sand is to ensure that we schedule the time that we require for our rocks and our pebbles first. So if it is that I need some specific time allocations because I have a big project that I mentally need to work through, I need to work out exactly how this thing looks like, or I need to have a brainstorming conversation with a bunch of colleagues so that we can sort out how this thing looks like, then I'm going to put that into my day first, because that is very important. It is also high urgent. So I want to be doing that first, and I want to block out time for that. Then I also want to consider what energy level do I need to have for that specific task. So say, for instance, it is a brainstorming session that I need to do with my team and maybe some of the other team members in different departments, because we have a big project that we're working on. And I am an introvert. Now, this is also something that we have discussed in one of our previous videos when we went and looked at our introversion energy management systems. Now, if that is something that happens, I am an introvert. I know that this brainstorming session is really important for my team. We need to get this done. So I book it into a space during the day when I feel I still have a lot of energy that I can put into this space. I also want to make sure that I have quiet time before I go into the space if bigger groups of people will drain me. And I also make sure that I have space after this task when I can recover and just be on my own. So the space that I book in after the task and even before the task doesn't need to be spaces where I literally go and I lock myself in the bathroom stall and just sit there by myself and nobody can come close to me. It is more of a, well, what are typical activities that I feel, or tasks that I feel energizes me? And it might be activities or tasks that I can do on my own. So I will schedule those ones in before and after my brainstorming meeting to make sure that I can recover the energy that I needed to expel within my brainstorming session. Now, if I were to be an extrovert, I'm going to do the reverse, because a brainstorming session, typically for me as an extrovert, will be great. I mean, I get to meet people, I get to speak to people, so I get a lot of energy from that. And if that is the case, what I want to be doing is before the meeting, I'm going to do some maybe alone preparing for that, which may or may not take some of the energy away from me because I'm not doing it with other people. And then after it, because I have now got a lot of energy, I can schedule some of these other tasks that I really hate doing into those spaces, because now I do have a lot of energy that I just got from the group, and I am able to focus some of my very precious attention on those tasks and actually knock a few things off my list. So understanding how it is that we manage our time and our energy within our workspace will help us to not only avoid those distractions that we know isn't great for us, it will also help us to be able to get through a day with a lot more energy at the end. Now, one of the other things that a lot of my leaders typically complain about is this thing about always being on. Now, this is one of the main distraction sort of generating things, and it's called email. Yes, I know. We all have it, and for some odd reason, we all have it on our phones as well. So we're forever carrying it with us. Now, one of the things that works really well is having a phone that is your personal phone and having a phone that is your work phone. Now, I know in some cases this is not possible. Where this might not be possible, what I would suggest is not to have work email on your personal phone. So, not downloading the app, not having it at your fingertips, because even if nothing happens, it's weekend, everybody's home, nothing major's going on, our brains automatically still wonder what's happening on that email. So clicking on our email and going to open it sort of becomes a muscle memory response for us. It becomes a bad habit. And we want to break said bad habit. So please delete your work email from your phone in order for your brain to get the rest it deserves. Also, it can help us to be a lot more intentional about exactly when it is that we are going to open emails. Now, yes, we want to respond in a timely manner. Do I need to be on my emails every second of the day in order to do this? No, I don't. I can literally come in the morning. If I need space to first think and plan my day, then I do that first. And then, after I have decided what the priorities is for my day, I will then open my email and go and have a look at what came in since I last checked it yesterday afternoon. So doing that, I can then update myself on any new priorities that might be pebbles that I can now put into my container. And if there is any sand related stuff that I need to put in, I can do that as well. I can also make sure that I put my priorities on my priority list and grade them accordingly. So it makes it nice and easy for me to be very focused and intentional when I look at my emails. Then I close my emails until maybe this afternoon, just after lunch. So just after lunch, coming back from lunch, seeing whether there's anything new that came into my email, and then doing the same at the very end of the day. Of course, this is a suggestion. You might only want to be doing it twice a day, or you might do it once a day, depending on what type of frequency works best for you. Every second of the day is too much. So we don't want to be doing that, and we want to make sure that we schedule in exactly the times we're going to use for opening our emails, responding to them, and prioritizing what it is that we need to do. So that actually takes a lot of the mental load off our plate. And it helps us in that way to not be distracted while we are working on our big thinking projects or while we are in a meeting. And yes, I know sometimes meetings take up our whole day and we feel like we cannot get to said email. Doing it in the meeting, if that is what you find yourself doing, what I want you to ask yourself is, do I need to be in this meeting? Because if you're looking at your emails while you're in the meeting, you are not paying any attention to the meeting in any case. It is great background noise. So why then are you there? So being more intentional about the way that we use our time and accepting meetings where it is required and declining meetings where we see that could have just been an email. And being more intentional around communicating that to our fellow, whether it is our own team or whether it is the teams at large, is helpful not only to us, but also to them to determine whether this person should really be in the meeting that I am inviting them to or not. And that helps us to then time manage, as well as not have 1,000,001 distractions. Of course, there's also still the phone. So when you do have those blocks of time where you have a brainstorming session, of course, you will not be answering your phone during that time. If it is time when you scheduled it for yourself to work on a piece of project that you need to cognitively work through, please put your phone, device, any bings, pings, and anything else that can distract you on silent. This will help you not to get distracted by it, and it will also help you get into your flow state to work on that specific project a lot easier. So, with all of that said, there's a couple of ideas for you around how to manage your time a lot better, as well as what to do with all those distractions that happen throughout your day. Yes, we cannot always, schedule in when people call us, but we can decide when we want to be answering the phone and having a lovely message that informs them that we will phone them back when we are available. So it's a little bit like our emails. We can do it at the same time too. And with that, that is one skill that I am hoping the leaders in the room, which I know all of us are leaders in some space of our life, and all of us need some good time management skills, will be able to implement. And of course, if you find anything that works really, really well for you, I would love to hear it, because there's always some updates that we can make to the models that we employ for ourselves. So you can do that by either emailing me at mariska@journey2discover.com, or alternatively, connect with me via LinkedIn and let me know what your idea is in a personal chat, and we can start our conversation. Until next time, enjoy learning and experimenting.